Hello, hey guys. As you have seen the past few days, I've been posting a few videos about the 3 books that I wrote using Canva. This has been a passion of mine, and I've been wanting to do this for a long time. And I can't say that I am the inspiration to these books. There is a whole long story behind all this. But today I want to talk about the 3 books that I wrote. And these books, I wrote them this year. And I think I started the other book last year just to help my son learn Shona at home. In the beginning, I used to write 5 Shona words maximum on the fridge or on a little board that we ended up buying from IKEA. And Liam will pass by the fridge, and then, eventually I could hear him reading those words out loud. Liam has a very, very big interest in learning languages, and he is also good in reading in general. And this we noticed when he was really maybe 4 years old. We'll drive past McDonald's or Marks, and you could hear him trying to read the words. So anyway, today, as I mentioned, my name is Isabella. I come from Zimbabwe, and I'm actually a daughter of a librarian. So I grew up around books, and I actually used to imagine how it was to be a writer. Like, I used to write poems. I used to write to read these books called Reader's Digest that we had in the library, and so many other novels. And I think when I was like 15, 16, I also read a lot of novels from Nigeria, and of course Mills and Boons, and you know how it is. So why did I write these books? I thought I wrote these books out of need because I wanted to teach my son Shona from English, and maybe in the future from Swedish. But I also needed a structured way of having our sessions. Like, I want to sit down with him and teach him something, but usually it was just so random. Like, what do we do today? Maybe months of the year in Shona and stuff like that. But I thought, we needed some books to create a little bit of structure, but we also want some activities that are fun, that will also encourage this part of this learning journey. So in the first book, I wrote 3 books. So the first one that I wrote, everything that I did, I created all these 3 books in Canva. This one is the Shona and English alphabets. And I think many Zimbabweans know this. There is no Shona alphabet. So I had to just come up with my own Shona alphabet. And there are a lot of words we don't have. For example, L, we don't have words that start with L in Shona, or X. So that was a little bit of a challenge. But anyhow, I managed to do a little bit of research, and trust me, in this process, I also ended up learning more Shona that I have actually done before. And then the second book I wrote, this is actually just like a better version of the first book, because I realized that in the first book, I was learning, I was watching videos on YouTube on how to create a coloring book on Canva, and I'll sit there, watch these videos, and then try it on my own book. But it turned out okay, but it's not as perfect as I wanted it to be, which is why I decided to write the second book. And I think you can tell even from the colors, there's a lot of harmony, there are a lot of pictures, and this book is way, way better than the first one. So this one is called Paws, Claws, Tails, Zimbabwe's Animals to Color. Why did I write this book? This book is also inspired by our first trip to Zimbabwe with Liam. Like, I want to prepare him for this journey. I want him to... He has never been there before. All he knows is that mom is from Zimbabwe, but what happens in Zimbabwe? How does it look like? We could talk about the weather because we needed to pack the right clothes also, but we also wanted to prepare him for the fun parts also. Kids love animals. So I thought, it could be interesting as well to create a book like this, but that time it wasn't a book. These are pictures that I collected from internet. You just show him like, if we go to the village, when you meet grandma and grandpa, these are some of the animals that you might see, or if we're traveling around Zimbabwe, this is what you might see. So I created this book, and this book, I think it works also as like preparing to go to Zim, or you want to tell your kid about Zim. Maybe some kids are born in the diaspora and they haven't been to Zimbabwe probably. So this could be like a little book, an adventure book as well, like for kids to learn a little bit about Zimbabwe, what it is, what are the animals there, because obviously we know that the animals we have in Zimbabwe are not the same animals that we have probably in Asia or Europe. We have some animals that we have in all these continents, but some animals are specific for different continents. And that's why I wrote the second book, Paws, Claws, Tails, Zimbabwe's Animals to Color. And I'll open the books later on so you can see how each page looks like. And then while we actually did go to Zim with Liam, which was quite a fun adventure. We were staying at my sister's place in the city, and Liam's loved the outdoors. I think the very, very first day, Liam woke up at 6 and was out and, helping out, digging and, taking care of the dogs. And then a week later, we went to the village. And this is the book that was inspired by the whole trip that we took to my village where I was born, which is in Zimbabwe, in Mondorongezi. Liam loved being in the village, and which is so much fun because I grew up in the village until I was 16. I lived in the village. I only went to town for holidays. And now I'm a big fan of the village, but growing up in the village, all I wanted was to leave. But it was amazing to see Liam loving village life. I mean, we were there for a day. We did a lot. We were feeding the chickens. We went to the boho Chiborani, the way in Shona. We were feeding the cows. We were visiting my grandmother's old house, and I'll show Liam the fireplace. Because I grew up also staying with my grandma in the village. I did stay with my mother for 3 years or so. So this book was actually inspired by the whole trip to the village. And I also, just like the other book, the second book, this book could be also interesting, like if you're bringing your child to Zim, and then if you are in the city, probably it's the same as being in South Africa or Europe or Asia or wherever you are. But village life is a little bit different. But now, of course, a lot of people have developed their villages and they are as modern as can be. But for some of us, there are some settings in the village that are still the same, and this is not what you see in town. This will be new for your child. So we thought this book would be also a fun way of like, okay, now we are in Zim, now we're going to go to the village. But what do we expect? What happens there? What are you going to see? And as well, this is also based on animals because a lot of children love animals. So this is based on animals that you find around the village, or the homestead as we call it. So these are the 3 books, which I actually think when I look at them as well, they also show my journey as a creator on Canva, because the first book, as you can tell, the colors are a little bit dull. I was struggling with proportions and sizes, but this one was much better, both the colors and then the fonts and everything. I love this one a lot. And this one as well, and the back side as well. So you can have a sneak peek of how it looks like inside if you see this book. And all these books are actually sold on Amazon. And I'll share the link after this live. So for those who are interested, you can purchase these books on Amazon. And then the second thing I want to do now is to show you what's in these books. So for the alphabet coloring book, this is quite simple. First we have this page where you have to write like the owner of the book and stuff like that, the name, telephone number in case your child loses the book. But right inside, if we take this page for Imba, which is house, we have the picture. And then we have the Shona name of a house. And here we also have the name, like a house and imba, both in Shona and in English. And on this side, which I think is also quite a good activity, it is like the tracing pages. So while your child is trying to learn each and every word, they might also stay a little bit longer on this page, getting familiar with the word in English and Shona, and then the picture, and then tracing the word in Shona, and then we'll also learn on the word, a letter of the alphabet on the side. So I think that this also coming back to the idea of creating structure around me teaching Liam, I thought this also was a good idea because maybe today we could try to talk about ndege, and then he can try to trace the word in Shona. But the next day, maybe we'll take the first row where he can try to write N in capital letters. And then the next day, maybe we do N in small letters, which means that maybe it's 3 days of learning one word. But that way also, he will repeat the word, he will hear it more, maybe we'll talk more. I think like for a mother, for parents who are sitting with their child using this book, you'll be able to probably tell a little bit of stories about Ndege, There are so many stories that you can tell in Shona or in English, depending on which language you choose. But I think for those that are creative, maybe you can actually try to tell a little bit story. And in this case, Liam was going to Zimbabwe. Maybe you talk a lot about flying. Like, what do you think? Are you scared of flying? Because this is going to be our mode of transport. What are your thoughts? Do you know how many hours it takes to fly to Zimbabwe? So this book, it could be simple as it looks like this, but I think you can spend more time with your child discussing. Probably you could discuss your own fears about flying. Like, there are so many things you can talk about. You can also talk about experience about flying for the first time. Maybe you also help your child to open up before this trip. Maybe they could tell you that they are afraid of flying, and then you can talk about those fears because, it's all about preparing your child for a trip that they've never taken before and then a country that they haven't been to before. So that was the whole idea. And then a lot of these pages, they look like this. And we have so many different photos that I found that I've used. And then at the end of this book, because I know myself, like growing up, I was always hoping that a book had more pages. So what we did at the back is that you have the word list. So you can also go back, and sit there with your child and then, play around with these words. Maybe you can ask them to point, imba, where is it, and stuff like that. So there are so many things you can do. And then here, of course, they can write a little bit about themselves. Depending on how old your child is, this book could be used now or later. And then you can always keep it for memory reasons. And then we go to the second book, which is Paul's Clothes, Animals to Color, Zimbabwe's Animals to Color. This also follows the same structure as the first one. You have this first page, this book belongs to, and then we put some animals here so you get an idea of what this book is about and what animals you might be meeting and probably coloring in this book. And then, of course, an intro page. And we decided to put the word list right in the beginning. In the other book, I put it at the back, but I thought probably it could be good that you know which animals. So this is like, it's all about interaction, communication, like, oh my God, because you want to encourage your child to learn. So probably you don't want to start by just saying, oh, let's color, let's do this. But maybe you want to talk about, what are we going to meet in this book? We have this pets like dogs, the mighty lion. You can try to have conversations using this list. I'm not so sure you can see clearly here, but I'll just show you how it looks like for now. And for those, this is also first time for me filming myself, so this experience is so weird, but I'm going to do it anyway. So this is it. This is the first page, and then as the book says, Paws, Claws and Tails, and then we decided to put a little bit of those also on the first page. And then this time we picked animals randomly. And these photos also, as I said, everything is from Canva, but I also had to go in and redesign these pages to make them look like they do. Like these photos, like what I did differently this time is that I also chose pictures from the same graphic designer. So I know the sizes, that every size was the same, which was perfect for this book. The lines had the same thickness. So this was like something also that I learned from writing the first book. I added also some lines here so that, you know, your child could practice writing, either writing the words or writing whatever they want to. They might want to write a little story about a buffalo, who knows? And I mean, for Zim, buffalo is also a totem. Maybe they might want to write something about their own totem. So what you can do, the activities are endless here. And then, of course, they get to color the animals. They might choose to color the animal just as it looks, like naturally. But here you have also nature right around. You have the grass. And here also opens up for another level of creativity, because another child might want to color the grass green. You know, as we know, the grass is always green on the other side. But another child might have a different take. Maybe they might be inspired by autumn and they might make the grass orange or something. And that also applies to the mountains and then the nature also behind. So there is a lot of things that you can do. So here we have, as I mentioned, you have the elephant on the other side, and then you have the buffalo. And then these animals we chose just randomly. We have the elephant, we have the buffalo, we also have the rhino, chipembere, we have the crocodile, garwe lacoste, we have mbizi, zebra. So, but the pages, as you can see, they follow the same pattern. So you can create your own little story here with your child as you go. They might also learn how to write their own short story. So they might write a little bit about this animal here, and then they can connect the next animal into this story. So it's all up to you. It all depends. But I think these books are quite they're offering both parents and children a lot of ways to learn and develop languages and coloring. And then also here you can pick and choose which colors you want. I mean, who can limit you from what colors you use? If you decide to make this the bees, the horse, maybe, because some are brown, some are light brown, some have white pages on them. So, you know, the sky is the limit, you know. And then for this one also, we do have at the end of this book, something that I used to like also growing up was to write poems. So on this one, you could write a poem at the end, and it could be a poem about one of these animals that you like the most, or it could be any other poem, anything. But I'm just seeing this book also as a source of inspiration. What did you learn from this book? Did you also get inspired to write your own book? Or did you also get inspired to write a poem about one of the animals in the book, or all of them? And this also goes for either the child using the book or for the parent. But I feel like you can do whatever you want here. And then now here we come to the last book, which I actually think like this is one of my favorites, because as much as this book was inspired by Liam, but it also gave me a flashback of my own life in the village. Like now when I do with my child, I think also I learned how to appreciate my background more than I did, because I actually had to think about each and animal that I had also growing up. Like what did they mean to me? Some were food, some were pets, and for cows, I didn't care so much about cows because I was scared for them, but they provided meat as well and milk, food for us. And it's some of those things that I never reflected on growing up. But now when I was doing it with my son, I started, thinking a little bit more about these things as I was teaching him. And then I think as part of my creative journey, it also gave me a lot of looking back and appreciating who I am today, because as much as I hated being in the village, but I became who I am because of some of these animals and the surroundings that are described in this book. So in this book, it follows Liam as he goes to the village, because like when you come to my homestead, for those who knows where I come from, we do have like one big house, which is usually the usual setting in Zimbabwe, and you have a round hut as well. And most of the times, like our cows actually are in the yard. So when you come through the gate on the left, you have the mango trees, the guava, the lemons, and then you have the cows as well. And we have our chickens and we have goats, and like right now, my brother has pigs as well. So this book actually, could be a little bit of it, it's from fantasy, but this is actually just reality. These are things that you actually see when you come to my village even now. So on the Facebook, because on this book, because I did a video before with Liam, which I will show later on if I find it, but we did this on TikTok. I was teaching Liam how to count in Shona, motsi, piri, tatu, ina, shanu. And I remember when he tried to say shanu, he said chipianu, and this guy became popular on TikTok, I think with like 350,000 views. But he did struggle with some words, but he still tried to pronounce them as he saw them. So on this book, still like the other book I showed you before, this booklet belongs to, and we have the name, telephone number, and this book is about numbers. So of course we'll put some numbers here so that you can get an idea of what to expect when you open this book, and a little bit of intro and a little bit of animals as well. So here the book looks like this. So 1, and then we have motsi, imwe, because in Zim we say motsi, piri, tatu, but it all depends also on what you're talking about. You can say imba, imwe, but but it all depends. But this time also went with a dog, which is, most kids love dogs. So Liam loves dogs. So we thought we have dogs. And growing up, we had a lot of dogs. My brother had a lot of dogs. My cousin as well had a lot of dogs. So we grew up with a lot of dogs at home. So we put a little dog here. And then what we decided to do is that we talk about imbra, imwe. And then on the next page, we create a little bit of reading. We talk more about the dog. What is it about the dog? So I'm going to read here because it's hard to show you. So on the first page, here about the dog, the book reads like this. Liam was walking around, looking at everything. What did you see first? One dog. One dog is what I'll start counting, said Liam, smiling. And then on the next paragraph, we do translate the English version into Shona. And then it goes like this. Liam akatanga kufamba achitarisa kumativi ose. Chii chaakatanga kuona? Imbwa imwe chete. Imbwa imwe chete ndiyo yandinotanga kuverenga. Akadaro Liam achinyemwerera. And then here we then end up by writing one dog, imbwa imwe chete. And then we go to, maybe we'll skip a few pages here because I will not take you through each and every page. But you obviously buy this book and you have a lot of, you have time to read and see what happens in this book. So we have 9. And there's been some printing problems here. But anyway, we'll go with the flow. We have 9 pfumbamwe. And then takatora y on this one. And then now we open the next page, 9 pfumbamwe. And then here it goes like this. Liam looked out towards the grazing fields and saw 9 fluffy sheep. The sheep were eating the grass. Can I bring you some water? Liam asked the sheep. And then in Shona, Liam akatarisa kuminda, akaona wai pfumbamwe. Wai dzaidya uswa. Ndokuunzira mvura yekumwa here? Akabvunza kumakwai. 9 sheep grazing in the field. Wai pfumbamwe. So this book follows is the same for each and every page. So we have why sheep, we have 7 cats. So it goes on and on like that. And then at the end, what do we have here? We have actually 2 extra pages here. So your child can actually sit and write something on their own. But we also added like a tracing lines, a page for an extra activity. Maybe they can do 1 line after each and every coloring day or something, up to them. But this book is supposed to encourage a lot of reading and a lot of understanding, like Shona in English. And that's why we also repeat like imbwa imwe liya makaona imbwa imwe chete inotamba panze saka. So this book is supposed to, I think it's a little bit more advanced